Hey, this is the first demo of webhooks.com. The purpose of this series is to simplify development, troubleshooting, and deployment tasks for your product. How does it help you? Webhooks addresses two pain points. First, any web app is relatively easy to work with, and async tasks immediately increase the complexity. They are harder to run, often need a separate deployment, and are harder to troubleshoot. The second pain point. If you ever integrated with an external service that supports webhooks, you've probably seen that it's surprisingly hard to get them right. Retries do not exist or are opaque. There is no way to trigger a manual retry in case no automatic one was scheduled. There is no place to check for logs for request and response payloads. And there is often an artificial limit on the number of webhooks that can be defined for a given event. This is especially painful in case you need to get the information in two separate systems. Webhooks.com provides tools to battle both points. So let's dive in. So if I log in, you can see that there is a surprisingly simple interface, and I have already done some setup so that we can go and check how it works. But let me first explain what you see. So in order to work with asynchronous tasks, it's so much easier to do them as just another URL in your web app. Because in this case, you can just load them in your browser, you can curl it, and you can do anything, right? And the logging is probably already in place. So it's just another endpoint in your web app. Webhooks allows you to set up a schedule in order to call this endpoint. This is it. That's simple. So here you can see that we have two ways to set up this. First is to create a pulse. Pulse is just some periodic call. So you can say, I want to be called every 2 minutes, and this is how you define it. Or you can say, I want to be called every hour or every week. That's also possible. If you need more flexibility and more complex condition, you can set up cron. In this case, we support any cron expression. And if you define it, then you define the URL to call the same way. And yeah, we will call you according to cron schedule. So let's scroll below and you will see how it's set up. I've set up two inputs. First is a test pulse and runs every 2 minutes. And the second is a test cron that runs every minute. So if we go to test pulse, you can see that it runs indeed every 2 minutes. They're not aligned to any schedule, right? Because it's like it's more or less whenever you have set up the input source. But here you can see that for every event that we wanted to call, we generate a payload. You can see it, and there is an output ID. Output ID will be the same for all calls within this event. And you can go and check for details of a specific call. So in this case, the call has failed. So we can go and find out why. So you can see all the request data with the payload, with the headers that we're sending, and we can see all the response data, and we can see that the response code was 500, right? And took 10 seconds to respond, and this is the JSON payload on the response. So let's say it wasn't a testing point, but it was just some unlucky deploy, and now you want to retry. Nothing is simpler than this. You can just go and click on retry button, and then we need to wait a little bit and refresh the page. And you can see that the second call that has absolutely the same payload, here it is, now got a successful response. So this is how you do it, and the cron schedule is absolutely the same, with the difference that it works well against the cron schedule. Then let's see. Oh yeah, here you can see that it's bound to happen like in near future. So it will, if we refresh, it will. Yeah, you see, it has happened. Now, The second part of the application is webhooks, as I said. And here, how it works is you define an endpoint to call. And you define a JQ expression to filter against, and that's it. So the idea there is that whenever somebody calls this endpoint with the JSON payload, we match it against JQ expression. We check if it gives us null or not null, right? And if condition matches, then we pass it through to your endpoint. If not, we throw it away. One example here is the endpoint that I set up. So, and the post URL is this one, and you can feed it anything, any JSON payload. You can feed it also non-JSON payload, but then we will not be able to match it. So below you see a helpful command to test the endpoint right away, so that you don't need to compile it yourself. And if we go to the input, we can see that I have already made a single call to it, this one. And you see our expression is that isFeed field is null, and it's indeed null. This field does not appear in the payload. So we can take this curl and call it again. Let's put something in the payload that we know that it was us. So we can say demo true, and then call it. That's it. Now, if we go to the input, you can see that here is our first call, and the call is scheduled to be passed over to the random failures output. So if we refresh it, we can see that it has succeeded. Now, let's see if we add isFeed field there, what's going to happen. So we go and change the field to this. Now, the idea would be that if we refresh, oh, you see it doesn't even appear there because we just threw it away. So this is something to improve upon. Most probably you would want to know that there was indeed a call, but we filter out. But there are a lot of features that we can add there to make it prettier. Thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you saw, you can follow the dev blog, you can follow the product blog, or you can simply contact us and send your message, and I would be glad to hear from you. Thanks.